There she is. What's going on, Bianca?
Hello, here I am. I'm super happy.
You look super happy. Oh my gosh! By the way, always love your jewelry. Always.
Oh yeah, this one is, it's always everything that resembles space. Now there are lots of rings, like cosmic rings. Look at this one, very big.
Okay, that's cool. Awesome.
Yeah, my friends used to say I use jewelry like the Wonder Woman. So
You do look a bit Wonder Woman-esque, actually. I do like that. That's cool.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So what I really need to do is I need to get not a better background, but a background to suit you. So just while I do that and have a bit of a play around, I just want to kindly introduce everybody that's been on this live now. I'm going to introduce Bianca, who is a rocket scientist who I've had the pleasure of speaking to before. I know her story. I really want to hear it again. I'm not sure where we're going to go with this, but it's going to be roughly around rocket science is in the home. We can do that in the home. It's all around us. It's so important. So, because when I hear rocket scientist, Bianca, I'm like, whoa, that's so hard and so tough. I wouldn't be able to do that. I can't do that. And I immediately shut down and go away. So if I was a kid, I might think that, but it's not true, is it? I mean, we know that you are an
absolute... No, it's not. Obviously, when we are talking about making spacecraft and satellites and all of these, obviously it's very difficult, like every other profession. We have to work and study hard to get to a very professional level, and that's a given. However, when we talk about rocket science, I always, when I see actually the kids live, I like to start saying, what do you think it's rocket science? And they give me lots of different answers, like it's aircraft, it's satellites, it's aliens, it's, the outer space, all this very far away concept, as you said. But then I basically let them understand that what we are doing now, using the internet and speaking to a wider audience all over the world, it is rocket science. We are doing it already because it's coming from the satellites that are giving us internet. So even us, having now, for instance, if I take my phone now and I want to do a selfie of us now speaking, let's do this. So we are taking now a selfie. It's a kind of inception. This one, uploading this on the Instagram, it is rocket science. Because we are doubling our images, and thanks to the internet, we can upload these on our phones, that we wouldn't be able to do it if we weren't using space technology in space. Yet, being able to use this technology on our phones, on our laptops, on our TV, we are actually being a little bit of rocket scientists at home. But there are many other things, many other ways we are using actually rocket science at home, like if you think about a hair blower, we all use that. And that one, so if you think, this is especially for girls, because actually my hair is very curly, a bit like Afro curly. Oh, that's cool. That's a good background. Yeah. So my hair is very curly. So throughout my whole life, I had to learn to use different tops for my hair blower. So there is the one that is very narrow and straight, like the one that everyone has at home, everyone uses. And then there is another one which is bigger. It's a kind of diffuser with lots of different pins, and it's round. It's a round shape, and that's for curly hair. So if I had now these, and actually if I had a volunteer here, I could actually tell you how this works. So this whole thing with a hair blower and the design for the hair blower, actually it's based on rocket science. And we've been using it all along, especially women and girls, just to straighten up or curly up our hair. And we didn't realize it was rocket science. Why it is rocket science? Because, and now it comes to my background of a little girl that wanted to become a Formula One engineer. So there we go. So I always wanted to become a Formula One engineer because when I was a child, and I was probably 7 years old, I used to spend a lot of time with my dad in his garage. He's a mechanic, so he never had higher education. So also another myth that we all have, rocket scientists or scientists of any sort have already a heritage of higher education in their family, coming from background that are very privileged and so on. I was none of that. I was coming from a very rough childhood. My dad wasn't higher educated, my mom neither. They were all, you know, self-made businessmen and businesswomen and working all their life since they were much younger than I was when I started even studying. So when I was spending time with my dad in the garage, and I loved seeing how he would dismantle the cars and how he would play around with these pieces. I loved how everything was put together like a puzzle, pieces of a puzzle. And so also I could see how much fun he was having. He was, you know, for me, he was much older than me at the time, obviously. So for me, it was this adult man having fun with his job. And that was amazing because it's not something that everyone can say. Many people actually need to have a job because they have the bills that have to be paid. But not all of us have the luck, let's say luck, let's call it luck. It's not really luck, but you know, this privilege of having fun with the job that we do. So I could see that in my dad's eyes, the enthusiasm, and I love all these cars and everything. So I said, okay, I need to understand how I want to do this, how I want to have fun in my future life with my career, as much as my dad is doing, and still playing around with these toys that for me were cars at the time. Then the ritual of a Sunday lunch at home, being an Italian. So there was the Formula One all over the place, and Ferrari, you know, red Ferrari like my lipstick. That's why it's there. And I loved the whole idea of the designing cars, how they were testing the cars and the wind tunnels, the competition also, the pressure that these people had as a team to work together, so coordinated, so you know, so structured, because this teamwork, especially when you are under such a pressure, it means that you really have to understand how the other ones are behaving, how you have to be in the flow of the whole thing. So I love that because there was a competition, there was the pressure, yet there was such a teamwork that, you know, you could make amazing things happen. So the more I grew up, the more I loved more and more this Formula One cars, engineering, and all of it. But there was another twist, because my mom is on the completely other, the end of the spectrum. So she's a makeup artist and she's very creative. She liked painting and all of this. So she was really, my dad was the more structured, logical one. My mom was the creation, the colorful one, the flamboyant one. She had a lot of self-expression, and also the most beautiful, you know, much more beautiful than my dad. So there was the whole spectrum here. And I loved that one too. So it's funny because when I was a child, I wanted to become not only an engineer, but also painter, because I loved painting. So I managed to understand that through aerospace engineering, actually, I could merge both ways. So the creation, the creativity, the colors, and the engineering for creating a machine that has that is something that humanity is using for, you know, daily basis, not only Formula One, but aircraft, spacecraft, any other cars. And to do that, I had to study fluid dynamics. So dynamics of airflow, aerodynamics. And these, when you make a simulation, especially in wind tunnels, that have their very own shape, so very straight, very narrow, then they become bigger. So this all different design of wind tunnels and the simulation of airflow around aircraft, cars, and everything was actually giving me the possibility not only to engineer something, design something, but also visualize beautiful colors, because they are absolutely beautiful. And these beautiful colors were an expression of the velocity or the temperature that was around the car, the aircraft, or the spacecraft. And if we were in a wind tunnel now, actually we would see all the colors around us, because air is all around us. We breathe air. And that's colorful. We just couldn't see. We just can't really see it in reality. So I was creating something out of nothing, and I was also giving visibility to the colorful life that we all have around us, and it's intangible. So for me, that was very dreamy and poetic, but at the same time, very useful and structured. So when then I learned about fluid dynamic and all of this, I actually realized that I needed to use another ending to my hair blower to make my hair curly. This is what I realized. Coming back to, the usual life on a daily basis, rocket science, I realized that one ending would make my hair straighter, because the ending that is like this, let's say the usual one that we use, gives a higher speed to the hair, to the flow coming out of the hair blower. So that one is hotter when it comes out and is much stronger, which means I can make my hair straight. The other one instead, which is called a diffuser, like a diffuser that is opening up when the hair flow needs to be slower in a wind tunnel, was actually the one that was helping my hair being curly without looking like a wet dog. So this is how I realized that rocket science is all around us in our daily items, and how I could actually apply the thinking of rocket science or engineering to things just to help, for instance, making my hair better, or watching TV, or just changing cables. So what I like to say is that rocket science, like any other science or any other thing, it's also a state of mind, if you may. It's a way of thinking logically, to think about a solution to a problem, looking at it from a different angle. And this is basically what has been rocket science to me all along. This is how it all started when I was a child, and then when I started working with cars, then I realized how this could be applied at home, and how this could be applied having a phone and taking a selfie of us and posting it online. And this is how then I started talking about rocket science to many of the kids, and also young adults and professionals out there, who think that this is so far away from us, just because they don't have relatable model to look at it. So this is in a very nutshell the story. The story, and there is a lot more to say. But what I like really to share with our kids, and it's sometimes I prefer to have it interactive, because what they come up, the solutions that they come up to something that I used to say, it's so much greater than what I used to think. But the lessons that I've really learned throughout my childhood up to becoming a rocket scientist, and having worked with NASA, having landed an instrument on Mars, having landed multiple telecommunication spacecraft around the Earth. They are still there. CubeSats, which are satellites big as this one, with science missions on them. And I was analyzing the thermal information coming from there, so the downlink data. Having had these whole experiences, and now working in innovation for this kind of spacecraft, so that we can have a broadband internet in developing countries. We can think about a way of, helping with the space junk, because now it's becoming, there is a lot of traffic in space, meaning that lots of spacecraft are being sent out, and this is actually creating space junk, because once we send out a satellite, it doesn't come back unless there is an astronaut on it, so it has to come back. So they stay there, and most of them at the end of their life mission, they will just fall from the orbits and come back to through the atmosphere. But because in the atmosphere there is a temperature that is 25,000 degrees, so basically they get destroyed, and they will fall on the Earth like a little falling star or some little aluminum pieces. But some of them now, they are staying there because they don't have any chance to come back to the Earth. So the space technology is evolving so much. It's giving us the possibility to work from home. Otherwise, we wouldn't have internet. It's giving us the chance to have Zoom, StreamYard, TikTok, Facebook, all of those that we wouldn't have if we didn't have the internet and the broadband all over the world. It's giving access to many developing countries to have education online. So if you think about many places in Africa where now there is the need of a broadband so that they could access an education online, especially the ones that don't have the chance to go to a school. Maybe the school is too far away. Maybe the university is too expensive. And they could have access to education or even, a news from all over the world so they can open up their minds to the world outside thanks to the space telecommunication. And thanks to the internet. So the idea for me to have started as a child who had lots of dreams and not much money and lots of problems to become one that is actually that is having the chance to shape the way humanity is living, the way humanity is working, the way humanity is communicating on a daily basis, opening up to intergalactic travels, interplanetary species, because we will become, the next generation will definitely have the chance to travel through a different planet, to see species that are not humans. Now, whatever are the species, if it's just a new plant, a new kind of animal, there will be new species and there will be an interaction through them. So through this major journey where I had basically nothing, and at some point I almost had to stop my education because I didn't have any money. Then I realized that I could teach. So, because the one thing that I knew how to do was to teach. And actually I started teaching kids when I was having bad time during my education. Now, being one of the major players in the rocket science and the space exploration, after all of these, and still teaching to kids, actually makes me realize that, first of all, as I said, the background that you have, meaning where you are coming from, the language you speak, the way your family dynamics have gone because of some issues, because we all had some issues in our family. The money you had, the way you were raised, or the drama you've had in your life, don't define your future self at all. It's not because we were born into a small town that we will live in that small town with those small habits forever. Because we have the power to change, to rewire our brain and to change that into something much greater than what it was. And at the same time, the other lesson that is, well, two main lessons. The other one is that don't ever, to everyone that is probably telling you, you are not fit for this, especially to girls, because for me, not only was coming from a background where none of my parents had an higher education and we weren't into the engineering world, but also being a woman, having a pretty face, which is even worse because, you have to prove your knowledge and yourself even more because some people don't really take you seriously. I had to really defy any logic when I started studying aerospace engineering. And this is something that I really want to share. If there is something you want to do, whatever, you want to be a rocket scientist, you want to be an engineer, you want to be a public speaker, an artist, a poet, anything. In the moment they say, oh no, this is too difficult, this is, it's not for you, probably you should change your mind, it means that you are onto something really big and you should go for it. Full on, you should go for it, because when everyone says no, you shouldn't, it's when you actually have to do and prove everyone wrong also, just for fun.
It really is though, isn't it, really? Because it doesn't matter what you were given when you were a child or what you were fortunate or privileged to have. Even if you had everything, abundance, if you had all the money in the world, it doesn't matter. And your dad or mom said, no, you want to be a doctor, but you want to be this. Well, you want to pursue that for you. But what I've been doing is I've been writing some notes just here, Bianca, and I found out that So, but what I'm finding is that work ethic so important. Find the fun, have fun with what you're doing, and as well as that, find the love as well. We were speaking a lot about love so far today with Lenita and the Lola twins. We were talking about love a lot, and I think that's so cool because I've noticed that you say, well, you love wind tunnels, you love the colours in the wind and stuff, and it's just like that's so cool. I find that really, really cool. But what I'm hearing as well is the worst person to block you from pursuing your passion, your dream, is yourself, and that will happen if you choose to believe what your dad says, your mom says, your best friend says, bullies say, whatever. It doesn't matter. Don't listen to that. Pursue what you want to do. And dad, logic, brilliant. Mom, creative, brilliant. Guys and girls that are watching this, can you do me a favor? Can you write in the chat box for me? What is it something that you really want to do? I know we've already explored that with Lenita, but let's see it again. And I want to see how you can get Bianca's like logic, thought, and like creative, because it's like rocket science is everywhere. I mean, who here wants to do rocket science as well? Rocket science to me now, hearing what you're saying, is a service to the world, to the humanity. It's a service, and like we've said before, if you choose to think, nah, I'm not clever, you're not shining your light, you're not shining your sparkle on what you can give to this planet. And we're all here together on this one little blue, beautiful marble that's healing now, by the way, which is a thing. It's awesome. So what you're doing now is great. Yes, please. Thank you very much. What you're doing now is absolutely brilliant. It's superb because you're helping move forward humanity. You're enjoying it. You're loving it. You're being creative. I want to ask loads of questions like I did last time.
And what is the third thing that actually was the closure of all of this, and it's actually embodying everything that you were saying. It's you have to do if you really want to do something for a greater cause. Each and every one of us have a purpose. We spoke about this one already when we had our first session. We all have a purpose here. And for me, my purpose was to contribute to humanity change through science. Their purpose now is to change your confidence. So the inward science. It's a different way of doing, but we all have a purpose. And in the moment you choose whoever you want to be, through your career, your life choices, the places you travel to, the people you are surrounded by, it has to be aligned with the values. It has to be aligned with your mission. For me, starting rocket science it started as a mission where I had to prove to myself first, and then to humanity, that a person like me, coming from, places that people wouldn't even know about, could actually contribute to change the world. That was my first mission. Then when I had accomplished that, a new mission came along. That was, now what I'm actually doing here is to share with the younger generation that this is now, again, my new mission is to share with you that you can do it. You can do anything you want if you actually are very clear in your mind what is your mission. Because if you decide to do something because you are moved by money, you are moved by people pleasing, many people want to please the others. Kids want to please their parents want to please their grandparents or ancestors, people want to please their friends, their clubs, their whatever. Don't please anyone. The only person you will live forever is you. So you better please yourself and your mission, because people come and go. Other things, influences come and go, but you will stay forever. So you better start pleasing yourself since you are a small child. And that will definitely make you become whoever you want, whatever obstacles you will feel and you will have on your journey, because be sure that greatness has a lot of obstacles in between. So excellence has a lot of obstacles, but you be sure that you will overcome all of them because you are being true to yourself and through your own purpose, not pleasing anyone.
I love that. That's amazing. Listen to you. I've got lost writing some notes. Listen to you, please you as well. Listen to you and please you. I think that's really, really important, because if I want to please my dad or my mom, and by the way, I'm saying this, but I'm not picking on parents at all. I love parents.
No. And actually, to be honest, they've been my main sponsorship.
Yeah,
although they wouldn't understand anything about it. But sometimes some of my choices were a bit alien to them because they just couldn't understand them, but they've been my main sponsors.
Same. I mean, same with, so I love my mum and dad to the end of the world. I really do. Love them entirely with every beat of my heart. I started my journey of wanting to coach children, of wanting to do talking events, of wanting to create online programs to help as many kids out to boost their confidence as much as possible. And my dad always said, well, are you sure about that, son? I'm like, yeah, no. He was doing it from a thing is, I knew that he was coming from a place of love. So, you sure you want to do that? You've got teaching. You can always fall back into teaching if this doesn't work. And he didn't know what he was saying. I knew what he was saying, but unfortunately, I knew what he was meaning. He would meant, I just want you to be safe. I want you to be okay. I want you to, have an income, blah, 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 whatever. That's what he was meaning. What he was saying was, you're going to fail. You can always go back to what you used to do if you fail. And I know that he loves me, and I know that that wasn't his intention. But that sort of thing, get everyone watching this as well. I'm so glad you raised that point, Bianca, because everyone watching this, parent and kid as well, just notice two things if anyone tries to stop you that cares about you. Number one, recognize what they're saying. And number two, recognize the meaning behind it. They're doing it because they love you. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. But still pursue what you want to do. Believe in yourself. Like for you, Bianca, when did you start believing in yourself for doing what you're doing? Because it's fascinating. It's so cool.
Yeah, so I started to be completely honest. It's a work in progress because it is really a work in progress, and you will never stop working on believing in yourself and boost your confidence. Because it all started when I was at the high school, when I actually realized I loved studying, and I had a kind of a magnet towards this way of studying. I would study in a way, I would study hard, but I would study in a way that was very unconventional. I could just read a paragraph and I could elaborate that paragraph from science to philosophy out of my own creativity. I didn't have to be into the terms and conditions of that book. I would elaborate my own opinions about it. And this is really at high school, when also I had some of the most amazing teachers, from chemistry to philosophy, actually, where they started believing into my own ways of talking and elaborating opinions and speaking out. The way I was speaking out was very unique. It wasn't like the student that it's there, it's reading the paragraph, is saying the paragraph with the same words that it is on the book. I was using my own experience as well, my own ways of expressing. So that is where I was like 14 years old, and I had these teachers where they actually recognized my work ethic, because it started there. I would work really hard because I didn't want to go there and feel like I had failed. For me, failure, which is also wrong, failure wasn't an option, at least when I was younger, because I had to prove that I wasn't a failure out of the many things that I had heard from the background where I was coming from. So I couldn't fail. I was a perfectionist. And also because I have a problem with authority. Which means you give me a recipe for doing something, I will take the paper, just throw it away and do the cake the way I want it. So it wasn't very easy for me to follow strictly what was on a book. I had to add something that was very personal. So when I was 14 years old, throughout my high school education, I actually started believing, I think that my opinions are valid. I think that what I'm adding to a room, to a conversation, has value. And I think that what I want to do is even more valuable just because there are not many like me. So it's like starting a new trend, if you may, or, you know, proving actually that someone had to start somewhere. So any leaders that we've seen in the world, they were unique at the time. And then we actually saw, like Mandela, we saw that he's done it. So many other people followed because they had an example. So I wanted to be an example for all the women and girls coming from the South, coming from disadvantaged and privileged backgrounds, that they could do it. So this is where I started believing in myself. Then, you know, throughout your education, you do your exams. It's pretty much very straightforward. You go to university, you have your friends, you stay at home, you work, you study, whatever. But then when you get into the work environment, this is where, and also when I moved away from Italy to Germany, because I moved to Germany when I was 23 years old to work on a NASA project. That was my first job. I was super young, and that was the first time I was actually moving away from my family, from my roots, from everything, into a country where I didn't know anyone. I didn't know the language. It was a community, like breaking, you know, all the certain things that I had, everything that I knew about life was completely broken, was all new. So there is where, when I was 23 years old, after, you know, the 14, so let's say 10 years later, where I had to work again on believing in myself, because there was a completely new environment. I was alone. I didn't have my reference point that were my friends, my family, and so on. So I really had to work a lot on not only, you know, believing in myself that I was actually working on a NASA project as my first project, but also making sure that I was psychologically okay with these big responsibilities that I had, that I never had before. So that was another point where I had to work a lot on believing in myself. And then again, 3 years ago, when then I moved to London to take on even more responsibilities, even more than I was used to do. Now it's a whole work in progress on believing in myself. Even now, when I started speaking, when I started going to schools and having public speeches and everything, I didn't believe I could do it, because I didn't believe I had the voice that people wanted to hear. So I had to prove again to myself that actually what I was saying was valid. So believing in yourself, it really changes at different stages in your life, because we are all beginners somewhere. And this is something that I've learned also when I started doing yoga. I was completely unable to do anything that, you know, the yoga teacher was saying, because I was new. And they said, and this is really something that I liked, she said, we have to learn and we have to be okay by being beginners every day in our life. Because it's true. Even moving to another country, we are beginners. We don't know the culture. We are not integrated. We don't know maybe the language. We don't know the habits. We are beginners. And that's fine. We just will find ourselves again. Being a public speaker, I was a beginner. I had no idea how to stand up or to talk and so on. And I learned to do it because I actually enjoyed it. And from being a beginner, now, you know, I'm working towards being a professional. And the same to you. You know, you were a teacher, and then you were a beginner when you started being a coach.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, isn't it? Because we know all these things, but it's almost as if we've got to give ourselves permission to be a beginner and to fail, and not expect perfection straight away. But my thing is, don't expect perfection ever, because there's no such thing. You just got to go and enjoy the journey and ride the wave. And it is really cool, because it's what I want to do is, when kids are watching this, I want them to realise that like you now compared to them now, you're what projects are you working on right now? Or you know,
so now I'm working on I work on telecommunication spacecraft, which are the biggest satellites that you could possibly build. And I work as a product manager for one of the subsystems of the spacecraft. So now, as you know, a little teaching. there are three main subsystems to a spacecraft. Propulsion, because we need motors, basically. The structure, because we need the whole frame of a spacecraft. And the thermal. What is thermal? Basically is those all subsystems that allow a spacecraft to be on orbit for, you know, the whole life mission. And when you are on orbit around the Earth, you go from minus 150 degrees to plus 150 degrees, eclipse and then daylight. And this is continuous. And all the instruments that are in that spacecraft that have to deliver the mission, the internet, GPS, whatever is the mission of the client, they have to stay within their range of temperature, a bit like our body. So this is one of the very easy example I do. Our body has a fixed temperature, which is between 36 and 37 degrees. And if anything happens, we can go into hypothermia, which means we go below the 34 degrees, or we can go above. According to the conditions around us, when it's very cold, why do we use pullovers and we drink hot tea and all of this stuff? Because we have to balance our temperatures with respect to what is the outer environment. The same when it's summer, we use shorts, we used to drink, you know, fresh fruits and all these kind of things, because our body needs to be fresher, because outside is much warmer than our temperature. It works exactly the same on the spacecraft. It has to be hot and cold according to this orbiting around the Earth and the conditions that are the environmental conditions. So what I do is to know everything that needs to be done on the spacecraft, so that it's not too cold or it's not too hot. A little bit like a fashion designer for the spacecraft, you know. I have to design.
Goldilocks and the three bears.
Huh?
Well, Goldilocks and the three bears.
I have to design basically this whole management around the spacecraft. And so that said, that having the little teaching, what I do now is the disruptive innovation, because as I said, space technology, like any other technology, is moving very fast. And usually to make a space mission, it takes a lot of years. From the start to the very deployment of the mission itself. So what I do is to innovate ways to find solutions from a different angle, you know, with the creativity, because we all need creativity into science, to look at the problem and say, okay, we've solved this problem up to now in a certain way. How can we solve it in a different ways so that it comes cheaper, lighter, more effective, has a higher performance, it's smaller, so it is scalable, a little bit like the laptops. So if you think about the first computers, they were mega huge. It was completely different. Now we have laptops, we have little notepads and everything, because science has innovated. So this is what I do now on the telecommunications spacecraft, working with innovation and especially with agencies like the UK Space Agency, the European Space Agency, and I'm based in England, in Stevenage actually, where is my office, and I work for Airbus Defence and Space. But I have the chance to talk with all these major agencies so that my visionary ideas could come to fruition thanks to their budget and their sponsorship.
Brilliant, amazing. So propulsion, structure and thermal was that?
Yeah.
Wicked. Okay, so just imagine that me as a human, I go outside, but outside is like space if I was a rocket, and I'm the rocket as a human. And what we
You're a rocket man.
I'm a rocket man. I was enjoying I'm a rocket man. Found my new theme song now. And so that's really cool. So we get, is it, what is it called again? Thermoregulation. So we've got to regulate my temperature and stuff.
Yeah. So if you think about, so if you are a rocket and you have, we all have the main three subsystems, if you think about. We have the structure, which is our bones.
Yeah.
We have the propulsion, which is our muscles, because without muscles, we wouldn't have the ability to move. And we have the thermal, which is our skin, and all the nerves that are covering this full structure, plus some adjustment like clothing, because we also need them. But these are the three main subsystems as well of our body. We all have them.
So you're kind of like the creator of the homeostasis in an aircraft, right?
Yeah.
That's a big word, wasn't it?
Yeah. Exactly that one. Yeah.
I got it right. That's what you do. So it's almost like you're the architect of the homeostasis of an aircraft. And obviously,
Yeah.
if you didn't have that, then it would overheat and burn out, whatever. And if not, it would freeze at certain temperatures. So that's really cool. So the point I was making a long time ago was you've got the kids now and you've got Bianca now, and that gap is huge, so huge. And we've filled that gap with just please you, have fun, work hard, listen to you, be a role model in what you do as well. I'm hearing a role model for you too. So it's like, you are, I just hate doing it. I hate genderizing it, but a female, but it's just, and it's tough, I guess, because it was a very male dominated area, wasn't it, at some point? And it shouldn't be. And it's just the way it is. It's the world. It's some of the things too. But it's really awesome. You want to be a role model for girls, old or young, to pursue their interests, to make the world a more future focused benefit for the whole of humanity and society, which is awesome, I think. Is there anything that we can say? So it's just like, boom, hi, I'm Bianca. I am a project manager of this, and this, and let's pick Ebony. So Ebony loves space. Let's get Ebony on here. So that's Ebony's mom just there. And Ebony, who's not, and Ebony may want to pursue space. She may want to, astronomy, physics, but in school, there's not a lot of awareness or scope to do with that. Yes, there's a physics lesson, which is wicked, but I don't want kids to be turned off from that. So what might you say to Ebony if she wanted to find a space in astronomy, find a space in astronomy, be a rocket scientist, whatever? What other? And you've given me so much. You've given everyone so much. Is there any kind of like little things maybe they could research or find out or try new things, or what would you say?
Yeah. So what I would say is that obviously whatever we want to do when we are in school, and anything that we can learn from school, it is limited, because there is not an infinite knowledge that teachers can say. But as I started, I was very curious. And I was very curious not only about learning things from a book or from a video or from something, but actually doing things. When I was, for instance, with my dad in the garage, I was learning things hands-on. So I would put myself onto doing exercises, onto doing something that was fun, and at the same time would make me learn something. So don't think that having an education which is unconventional, meaning you go to school, you work and so on, but if you like something, if you like astronomy, if you like science, if you like mathematics or physics, cut out some time for your own development, meaning talk to people that have done this, because they are available. They are here. Talk to people, ask questions, go for webinars, go to an event, even if you are very young and you may not know people and may feel out of place. Put yourself out of the comfort zone of the schooling environment. Research, make your own research, because this is all that happened to me. When I became an expert in fluid dynamics and I had to use some very specific softwares, they weren't available in my university. They weren't at the time. It was too early for being deployed as a usual class at university. But I love doing that. So I bought the software myself. I started working on the software outside the university, learning how to do it and so on. And that was actually the key thing that made me land a project with NASA, because no one had that knowledge. It was very unique. So you have to find your niche, and if you have to study outside your normal study, you have to do it, because it's a development for yourself, and that will make you stand out from all the other ones that have just gone through a very conventional way of learning things or doing things.
That's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Curiosity. If you're not curious in life, what are you? And I think that's really, really cool. And I love the fact I saw it was about money. I'm not about money, but I saw this image on Instagram that just said it just had a house, a nice house, and it had this is what school education can give you. And I was like, brilliant, cool. And they had another house which was a big mansion. It was huge. It had a swimming pool, it had all the cars in the world. It was amazing. And it said, this is what self-education can give to you.
Yeah.
And I think, when I think of self-education, I think of self-respect. I mean, look at these kids that are on here, and adults that are on here. They respect themselves. They're here. They're showing up on a Saturday morning.
Exactly.
And it's brilliant. It's wicked.
Yes.
So
this is the first, this is very disciplined. This is being a role model. First of all, what is important is, it is very used for everyone. You may be a role model, I may be a role model, but actually what is very important for them to understand is that they have to be the role model that they wanted to follow when they were children. When I look at myself as a younger kid, if I was a younger kid now looking at myself, I'm really proud.
Yeah.
I wanted to be that person. I've seen many people around. I had information from all of them, but actually I become now the role model that I wanted to see when I was a young child, and I didn't have. So this is very important for them. You can understand and learn from, the leaders and so on, but you have to be your own leader.
That's really, you give me a little light bulb moment just there, because I think that if I was looking at myself as a kid, my dream of being a PE teacher, and I achieved that. And now doing what I'm doing now, I think that I've maybe surpassed my role model. So maybe I didn't set my ambitions or heights high enough. And that's not to disrespect any teacher there. I love teachers. They're fantastic. I wouldn't have been one. And part of me misses it. But I would love for kids to watching this now just to set a really high standard for themselves that is actually scary. That's like, oh, I can't achieve that. Or, you get those thoughts, because you'll be so surprised and so proud when you do. So I think I've already achieved mine, but I've surpassed mine, which sounds a little bit arrogant. It's not supposed to come out arrogant. It's supposed to be self-belief. But I just want to encourage children and parents as well. It's not too late to set another bar for themselves or set a high goal. So I love that, because it's like if Bianca now met Bianca 11, she would be like, whoa, who's this role model? Meaning you're proud.
Yeah. It will be like that. And as you said, I can relate to what you just said about, surpassing your own expectations. It's like, I always say I kind of exceeded my own expectations. From the places where I lived, the lifestyle I had, the projects I work on, the people I've met, the travels I went, because that's all also, let's don't forget that education doesn't come only from school or curiosity after school, comes from everywhere, comes from traveling and learning about new people, comes from tolerance, comes from speaking to people, to asking questions that you think are maybe stupid or very difficult. No question is stupid. Comes to really go into the deep end of yourself, being on your own, thinking, drawing, writing down stuff. It comes from many different things. The way we all stand out here today as adults is because everything we've done in our life wasn't just working or studying. It was a whole, spectrum of traveling, meeting people, putting ourselves into risky situations and try to understand, okay, how am I going to now do this? That was my comfort zone. Now this is very scary. Being in risky situation as well, taking the risk to look stupid also. To fail, taking that risk, because, you never know what kind of doors can open. When you just started doing something and someone has said, oh, you know what, I just have that project that I think you will be great for. And, everything just comes from there. Networking is important. Meeting people is extremely important. Let's don't forget that we will never be anyone on our own. As much as we can be our own leaders, everything great, everything that, has been done as a great mission, a great endeavor, never came from one person only. We are all here together to make this place a better place, but we can only do it together. And you can only work together with other people in a respectful manner if you first know yourself, what you can bring to the table, and you respect yourself. Because otherwise, this is not going to happen.
No self. Bring. I love what you've said there. That's reminding me of what I'm going to write that one down.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a lot of notes.
I'm going to message you about what to remind me of that again, because I want to write that one down, but I want to be present. I think it's with. I've got a CDE, so capable. You are capable of doing whatever you want to do. You are deserving a seat at the table. You are so deserving a seat at the table, and enthusiastic. Be enthusiastic when you go through it as well. It's not. We had a discussion with the two lovely ladies before this, and they're saying that education that you get put in the choice subject, and you're there for 2 years, and you choose to go to university. You're stuck there for 2 years. That's why dropouts starting to increase now, because there's no flexibility. But then again, you've got to find your passion. When you do find your passion, like for you, you knew what you wanted. You saw that and thought, right, this is what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to dedicate myself all the way through to the end. And I think that's so awesome, and so important as well. This lesson today, I've learned a little bit about the hypothalamus and the way that rockets are thermoregulated in space, which is amazing. I didn't know that you had the logic from your dad and the creativity from your mum and combined it and made something absolutely insanely amazing. And you're a role model doing what you want to do. I think that's really, really important. And for what we've got from this as well, for being open-minded and networking. Networking is cool as well. So maybe working on your communication skills too.
Yeah. And also be open to different perspectives. People tend to be always in their own path, the usual club, the usual people that talk about the same things. Another tip that I want to give is that as much as, I love science and I'm an engineer, being surrounded by engineers all the time isn't good for me, because I need the artist, I need the poet, I need the DJ, I need the music, I need, the hairdresser. I need different opinions, because everyone has looked at life in a different way, and you have to stay open, and you have to be really open to understand their opinions, where they are coming from, and possibly some of them will be even useful to your own daily life, to look at things differently. We all need to be open to different perceptions, and because this helps our own creativity as well. I may be thinking just in an engineering way, but then comes the fashion designer who has done something in a different way and may find the solution to a problem that I didn't know how to approach. So we have to be open to talk and listen, especially listen to what everyone is saying, because not listening doesn't really make us a better person. We don't develop.
No, we don't develop at all. And that's why we've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So use these bad boys. I've really been listening today. I've tried my best at listening and making notes as well. So awesome. It's always an absolute pleasure to speak to you, Bianca, and just to get a little ounce of your knowledge, a little breadcrumb each and every single time. Is there anything you want to leave? You've given us so much, but is there anything you want to leave the kids with today at all?
Yes, so I want to tell them that their dreams can be as big as space. Space is infinite. It's definitely infinite. So you have infinite choices of making your dreams happen. You can just cherry pick a couple of them, and they can all become true in one person if you want to.
I love that so much. That's so cool. Thank you for being part of my summit, our summit actually. It's going so beautifully so far. There's been no technical errors, so we're all good to go.
I'm super happy that you've invited me, and it's great what you've done. It's really great, and you can always count on me for anything that you're going to do.
Very much. And if people do really want to reach out to you, where might they find you?
So they can find me on Instagram, where my handle is CosmicalB, where I'm sharing information about space in a very easy way. Yeah.
There she is.
Yeah, because I'm also LinkedIn with my full name. But for younger generations, I'm using Instagram to teach them about space in a very, very relatable way. So if they want to reach out to me, I'm there. You can look at my pictures and maybe find something interesting through a sunrise or a sunset or whatever that is.
It is. I saw that sunrise one. I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Again, always a pleasure. Love picking your brain. Get as much as possibly can. There's definitely going to be some stuff in the future. I know there is. But I will let you enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you from England over here to Italy.
Thanks for being with you, and best of luck with the remaining of the hours. You're doing great. That's awesome.
Thank you very much. Arrivederci.
Bye.